Tasmai sahovacha pitamahascha Shraddha bhakti dhyana yogadavaihi na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amrutatvamanashuhu. Tasmai sahovacha pitamahascha Shraddha bhakti dhyana yogadavaihi na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amrutatvamanashuhu. Tasmai, to him, verily Lord Brahma said, know that by the yoga of Shraddha, faith, bhakti, devotion, and dhyana, meditation, not by activity, not by progeny, na karmanana prajaya, na prajaya, not by progeny, not by activity, not by karmana. We shall see what karmana here means. Dhanena, prajaya dhanena, dhanena tyagena eke amrutatvavānashuhu. But he feels by renunciation of wealth, tyagena, what tyagena? Dhanena, tyagena dhanena amrutatvavānashuhu. They have attained amrutam, amrutatvam. The immortality has been attained through renunciation of wealth. Tasmai, thanks Harishi. Tasmai refers to a fully qualified student. May every teacher get a student like this. Tasmai, an adhikari. You go back to the previous verse, the previous mantra, where he gives all the qualities that makes one an adhikari. To him, the verily Lord Brahma said, know that refers to Brahman. How do you know the Brahman? Through the yoga of Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana. Threefold path is giving. Through the path of Shraddha, the yoga of Shraddha, the yoga of Bhakti, the yoga of Dhyana. The yoga of Shraddha. Shraddha, even though we always have maintained that there is no equivalent term in English. The Sanskrit term is so profound, is so wholesome, it has no word equivalent. But Shraddha literally means a capacity to pursue the firm belief you have, a capacity to pursue the firm belief you have in the transcendental until you reach it. Shraddha is that capacity to pursue a firm belief you have in the transcendental until you become it. Now here you see there are two elements here. One is that you must have faith in the transcendental. Now the question is, many of us can't relate to the transcendental because it's abstract. You can't relate to it. There's nothing tangible you can relate to it. So how can you have a goal, something which is so abstract, something which is intangible? Now, what is your faith in the transcendental reality? So the first step is to examine the intensity of your faith. What is your faith? And then the effort must be to, then comes the capacity. The capacity to pursue. So Shraddha actually is an extension of faith, if you really ask me. If you're all following, first we said the definition of Shraddha is a capacity to pursue. How did we put it? Shantima, how did we put it? Did you write it down?
Ariyam Guruji,
Yes, ma'am.
capacity to pursue the firm belief you have in transcendental until you become it.
Can you repeat again?
Capacity to pursue the firm belief that you have in transcendental until you become it.
Faith, Shraddha is a capacity to pursue the firm belief you have in the transcendental. So it's a pursuit of the faith you have in, isn't it? So when we say, so therefore, Shraddha is an extension of faith. You carry forward the faith you have in something until you become it. That is Shraddha. Ilya, isn't it?
Yes.
So, very good, ma. So therefore, the faith is first to be measured, and then you measure the capacity to pursue. So the yoga of Shraddha is one of the means to attain Brahman, he says. Now, I'm sure we all have faith. I'm also certain that the faith is not the same in all of us. So each one of us have to find out how much faith you have in the self, in the reality, in the pursuit of the reality. Remember the example, remember the story we took last week? Was it in this class we took the story? The story of a man walking with his daughter, with his child. He walked on the rope from one end of the building to the other. Was it in this class? Or in this class? I thought it was here. The previous, but in this Upanishad class only, isn't it? I took up the story of a man who walked on the thin rope from one end to the other, and everybody applauded, everybody encouraged. And when he asked, do you believe that I would be able to go back again from this end of the building to the other? Everybody said, yeah, I don't doubt it. Everybody believed firmly that you would certainly go back. Then he just requested anyone to give their child to be safely transported from this end to the other. And there goes, it was a test to their faith in that belief, in that man's ability. So the real faith is not, real faith is tested. When is your real faith tested? Faith in a person, faith in anything for that matter. When is your faith tested? Because I have asked, each one of us have to please, you have to go through this exercise of self-analysis, of finding out how much faith you have in this journey, in this path, in this knowledge. But how do you test your faith in anything? So I think that the principle could be the same. You know, you apply it to different areas. How do you test faith in anything? It could be on a person, it could be in a situation, it could be here on yourself. How do you test that faith? To begin with, I would like to ask Amitama, how do you do so?
Hari Om Guruji. Can you hear me, sir?
The silence is because the SOPs are being violated.
Sorry, sir.
Harioma.
Hari Om. Yeah, it just got me thinking, how do you know that you have, that faith, and what is the test for it? For me, I would say that it is about having that knowing completely without having any tarnished doubt or any speck of doubt. So I hate to use a cliche, it's unconditional, but for me it would probably be something like not having any expectation, so that man who is walking on that tightrope, and he comes and he says, now are you willing to give me your child to walk on that rope? There should be a complete there's no doubt, no uneasiness, and I should be very comfortable and very committed, and I know that he will succeed and offer that child. So no doubt, no regret, no blemishes, nothing to tarnish that decision. What do you say, sir? It's just a knowing, an inner knowing that this is the right thing to do.
I'm actually searching for that essential element in all. So beautifully you have explained around what that whole concept of faith or belief is. But how do I test it? The question is, how do I test my faith? Or when is my faith tested? How much faith I have in something? You've explained what faith is,
Okay.
But how is it tested? How do I test my faith in it? That's still that I don't see a direct answer there.
Okay. Can I try again, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I think it will be it'll be proportionate to the level of doubt. The lower my doubt, the higher my faith. So if I have any inkling of doubt itself, I know that I am not, I'm not unconditionally having faith in something. Could that be my measure?
I still believe you are approaching the answer from pure language.
Okay, semantic.
You're taking it from from the language perspective. I don't know what else to say. Not that you're wrong. Not that you're wrong. See, the opportunity we create in this classroom is to offer real depth.
Okay.
And here we are taking an Upanishad text. So therefore, my attempt is to go deep into the question or to probe for the answer. Not that you're wrong, I would be very
Sure, sure.
satisfied,
I understand.
but I could go deeper into it.
Okay.
I could really go deep into it. You're right. Think along, not that you're wrong.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Aparagaru.
Guruji, we are, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, please.
Guruji, when we are talking about the Shraddha, as you said in the beginning, that it's very difficult to translate Shraddha into English words. But is it not unwavering faith, unwavering focus to understand something? For example, Shraddha has been used quite a lot in Kathopanishad, where Nachiketa is seeking from Yama. So where Emma tried to divert him, bypass him, and did multiple things to avoid his answering his question. So is it not unwavering focus and faith on something that I want to do?
Yes, you can say that. Shraddha is that a capacity to pursue it, unwavering, a sense of consistency. But the pun here is, the pun in the Shraddha is to go to the very end. So you may be pursuing something consistently, but you would not go to the end of that. So the accent on Shraddha is the completion or the merger of the effort. You wouldn't leave anything left unattended until you get to the very goal. Here, the faith is in the pursuit of the self, the very journey of the self. So the seeker has got that impeccable faith in the pursuit that he wouldn't question, am I doing the right thing? So the question is, how do I examine my faith in the pursuit of the self, of the transcendental? How do I test it? And you apply Shraddha to it, it takes it to a completely different level altogether. In fact, it is of the very highest order, sir. Faith in the self itself is the highest of all faiths. I have faith in my wife. I have faith in my family. I have faith in my students. I have faith in my government. I have faith in the food I eat in a restaurant. It's not contaminated. I have to have faith. Now, amongst all faiths you bestow onto things, the faith in the self is the highest. And the Shraddha to pursue everything vis-a-vis the Shraddha to pursue the self is the highest. So we are talking of the most elite of all qualities here. We all experience faith in mundane things, but we are never ever questioned to examine the faith in the self. And you're only done in classes or satsangs like these. And when the opportunity arises, a rare opportunity arises, I don't think we've ever discussed this element in the satsangs. How do you examine, how do you check your faith in this pursuit? So it's a very interesting thought process. But you're right in your understanding. So you're right. Okay. I will take up Vijay Raghavanji's comments, please.
Pranam Guruji.
Yes, sir.
I'll just try. I think the strength of the faith depends on the extent to which we are willing to sacrifice by believing in that.
Mm.
In the sense, it is both intellectual and mental. If it's purely mental, it becomes blind. If you're also believing, I mean, using the intellect to accept something prima facie, then it becomes a possibly true faith.
Can you repeat the first sentence you said, sir, your opening remark?
Faith is something, the strength of faith possibly is defined by the extent to which we are able to sacrifice. I mean, in the other example you gave, which talked about, the risking the child and things like that. Right? The extent to which we are able to sacrifice by believing in that particular faith, by having that faith.
Perfect. Beautifully said.
Like, for instance, if somebody says something, you have, I mean, this may not be a correct example. If I have faith in the person, never mind what are the consequences of what I do on the basis of my faith on that person, but I would go by what the person says in that circumstances. I mean, I would not go think too many things. I have faith in that person. So I would go by that. Never mind the circumstantial evidences, so to speak.
Correct. Correct. Like you may have a faith in your business partner or your employee.
You just do it.
And somebody comes and tarnishes the image. Would you allow that to dislodge your faith, or you still say, I know this person, I have faith in his integrity, nothing doing? I would not, maybe you would lend your ears, but it would not allow your faith to be dislodged.
The only corollary I would like to put it is that faith would have been developed over earlier prior experiences in terms of mental and intellectual exercises about the person. I would have not just, if I just simply believe in that person and then I'm blind.
Sir, we are not talking of blind faith.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, I'm glad you brought both these elements more than once. And now the fact that you say it so explicitly, it is something you have cultivated through experience. It's not something out of a whim or a fancy. You start following something out of a fascination. It's not that you're gullible. You're very grounded even in that faith. So it's a firm belief. Sorry. So it's a firm. It's a very firm belief. So it has the elements of your mind and intellect, certainly.
To begin with, I did not resist him, resist the concept of having to believe in the person. I mean, mentally, if I had had a block, it would have never even progressed to this level. And once you give it a chance, I think approximately that becomes the faith. Once I give the process of going through that with a sincerity, it becomes faith, I suppose. I mean, I don't have any mental or intellectual hang up about the person or a concept.
Right. So bringing it to the context, how do you check your faith in the spiritual pursuit? In your opening remark, you said the capacity to sacrifice anything to uphold that faith.
By thinking about it, possibly doing something which I've been doing all these days, believing in what I'm hearing now. And also thinking about it. Most important, I think, is to think about it and just not accept it prima facie. Not fight it, but seriously accept it and also think about it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Vijayaraghavanji. Makes absolute sense. Thank you. Setuji.
The capacity is actually whether I have, in addition to faith, whether I have trust, and can I drop my, in the pursuit, can I drop my primary and have that as a primary goal and drop secondary and obligatory duties when it needs. And when I have setbacks and challenges, I continue to believe and trust the transcendental. And have a Shraddha towards the goal.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. In fact, you have reiterated what Vijayaraghavanji has said, the capacity to drop,
Renounce.
renounce, the capacity to renounce and to, so nothing becomes an obstacle, nothing distracts you, nothing challenges you, that capacity.
Trust.
Thank you, sir.
So there's a
Mm.
between belief and trust. That's what the rope man wanted, whether you trust me or not.
Mm.
So
And they all have seen that here is a man who is more than capable. It was proven beyond doubt that he had safely crossed the rope. But still, when you have to give your child, would you be able to put your child on that man's ability to cross back that rope? That's a different ball game. You and I will talk of spirituality. We all will enter into spirituality. and not being personal to anyone here. When all our other needs are met, all other priorities are taken care of, now I have nothing else to do. I can pursue spirituality. But if this spirituality is your lifeline, if this is your very definition of this is what would define your life, would you be able to just say no to everything, shun everything and say, this is what I believe in, and believe in it when you have no proof or evidence that is going to give you any assurance? It is that faith. Rabindranath Tagore says faith is a bird that sings while the dawn is still dark. That is faith. Faith is a bird that sings while the dawn is still dark. If you have faith in something, you have experienced it, it is no more faith, it's a conviction. It's an experience, it's a reality for you. Where is the faith? An additional extension to what Vijayji has said. If you have experienced it, then it's already conviction, it's an experience. But faith is to exactly get into the true meaning of what Rabindranath has said, a bird that sings while the dawn is still dark, much before the first ray of light. The birds have started chirping. How would the bird know? At 4:30 in the morning, you see these birds have begun their activity way before sunrise, an hour prior. How would they know whether it's 4 o'clock or it's 3 o'clock, it's not 12 o'clock? How would they know? Isn't that amazing? That's what he says. You have faith in something you do not know. You don't know. That's faith. That's faith. There's an acute connection. There's an acute awareness that you have. And a sadhak goes through multitude of times where his faith is tested. Not whether it's a challenge depends on his development, but his faith is tested. And a guru puts a student to test unknowingly, and silently he sees how the student is faring.
Accepts every setback as a prasad.
Accepts every setback as a prasad. Correct. And we need to take these terms to a new level to understand the commitment of a sadhak in the pursuit of the self. It's a new level. Amazing. It's just amazing. And many people read lifestyles of masters, just to understand what all they endured, what all they go through in this journey. But it's important to understand it intellectually. Wonderful, Sidhuji. Lakshmima, you wanted to comment something.
Hari Om Guruji. No, I was going to attempt the question, but most of them have already sort of said what I wanted to say. So basically, I feel it's the strong conviction you have in your belief and the path you have chosen. So not deviating from it. That's how you can test your faith, because there'll be a lot of temptations, there'll be a lot of obstacles and deviations, but you stay convinced. I think the level of conviction you have is how we can test them. So I think most of them have answered the question. That's why I lowered my hand.
Right. Wonderful. In fact, I'm reminded of how Swami Ramatirtha, if you have embarked on the study of the books I've recommended, the Woods of God Realization, the books you have, those of you have picked up, or those of you have attempted reading, many a time, in his lectures where he spoke many in the United States in the early 90s, 1901, 1902, he told to the Americans, have faith in yourself, not in your mighty dollar, he said. He went to America, and to the Americans, he said, have faith in your own self, not in the mighty dollar. So I place $1 in front of you. I have placed the opportunity to sacrifice the dollar and the self. What would you pursue? When you don't have the dollar with you. When you have the dollar, nobody would think twice. I'm well taken care of, well protected, and all my investments are locked up. Nobody can touch it. Then I can do something. That is no Shraddha, that is no faith. Drop everything that you have, you're holding on to, and then do it. That is your true metal. Drop it. Yes, Ushama. US.
Guruji, here you are talking about Shraddha being positive, but there is Tamasic Shraddha and Rajasic Shraddha. So here you are talking about Sattvic Shraddha. So
see what
I mean is...
Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, what I mean is this Shraddha you are talking is like one direction, Shraddha, which is in a good sense. But there is a reference to Tamasic Shraddha and Rajasic. So
I know what is the difference. I know what you're referring to. This Shraddha appears in the 18th chapter of the Gita. Do you have a quick reference of that with you right now?
17th chapter.
17th, okay, 17th chapter, Shraddhatra Vibhaga Yoga. Now, see, the Tamasic and Rajasic Shraddha, even in the 18th chapter, he talks of consistency of purpose. Dhriti, he talks of, So Dhriti and Shraddha are very close. In fact, I think Apparao Garu was mentioning of something close to consistency. That is called Dhriti. Dhriti is consistency of purpose. Shraddha is the capacity to pursue it till the end. So the accent isn't reaching. Now the question is there a difference between Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic? What differentiates is the purpose. A Rajasic Shraddha and a Tamasic Shraddha is a person who holds on to his arrogance, his arrogating view. A fellow who is pursuing the world is Rajasic Shraddha. He also has Shraddha in running behind what the world has to offer. No? He believes that there is everything that the world can give him. He believes that the world, the wealth or the fame and name in the world can satisfy his demands. So he has a Shraddha in pursuing it. In spite of all the failures and the challenges, he still has faith that the little more money I can make, a little more fame I can get, a little more power I gain in the world, I'll find my life's purpose is fulfilled. I found happiness. How is it that he's pursuing the world? Because he also has Shraddha. Rajasic Shraddha. Tamasic Shraddha is holding on to his own hallucinations. Some funny hallucinations he's got. He has Shraddha, he believes in them also. Till the end, he believes that that will give him solutions to all his life's problems. So Shraddha is common. What differentiates from Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic is the purposes they hold on to. For what are you doing it? But what makes it Sattvic is the highest towards your own spiritual attainment, self-unfoldment. That could be the difference. Does it answer, Ma?
Yes.
Okay. So I think as the comments we got, then how do you test your Shraddha of faith is the capacity to uphold it, the capacity to pursue it, irrespective of multitudes of challenges. You could have any number of challenges, but still the faith in it is never altered, doesn't get altered. I think there are a few comments in the chat box. So before I take them, yeah, Kashish, please go ahead.
Guruji, I thought maybe I would share a very interesting story that makes your explanation of Shraddha make a lot of sense to me, if that's okay. There's a book called...
It is getting very serious. We need a story now. Yes.
There's a book called The Name of the Wind, which is like a fantasy novel. And in the story, there's a character called Kvothe, who as a kid goes to a school to learn magic. And one of the skills he wants to learn is that there is a professor who knows the secret names of things. Like he knows the name of the wind, he knows the name of the ocean. And when you know the name of something, you can control it, kind of like having a power. But this professor's class is very, very hard to get into. And the main character, Kvothe, goes through so many things to get into this person's class because he only takes like very few students. And I remember one of the tests that he has is they're talking in a really high room in a tower. And the professor says, what will you do to prove that you're going to be a student? He's kind of doing something similar to this, where he's like, what makes you a good student? And for some reason, Kvothe gets it in his head that if he jumps out the window, the professor will say the name of the wind and catch him and save him. And without any warning, without any like advance notice of what he's going to do, what he's going to do, he just sprints across the room and jumps out the window. And the professor is so shocked, he forgets and doesn't catch him, and he falls. And when he wakes up, the professor's like, oh, I admire your faith, but it's kind of implied that now he's like, let me teach you faith in yourself so you can learn the name and catch yourself. Don't put so much faith in me that I will save you, but I will give you the skills to save yourself. So that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, very interesting. But I admire the faith of him that he jumped, that he will be protected. That's faith.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Is like,
that's faith.
So ready to.
So ready. No, it doesn't matter the teacher forgot, but that's faith.
Yes.
I wish you didn't mention that. Because people will not jump. Oh, I hope the guru will not forget me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely a beautiful way of capturing, you know, how you never question that, you know. Yeah. Tomorrow, let's say the faith you have in your guru and the whole world can come and tarnish him, but still your faith in him will not die. That is also a measure you should examine. All these things, you know how life tests and challenges you, right? Thanks, Kashish.
Thank you.
Yes, Lakshmi Ma.
Now, I found Kashish's story very interesting. I was just thinking, maybe it also suggests the journey to discover yourself is an individual journey. It's your own. Nobody can help you. So you have to acquire it before you learn to jump. I just
Rajima, please share Kashish's number to Lakshmi Ma, Lakshmi's number to Kashish. They will go about writing a new version of the book.
no, we are just seeing Vedanta in everything, I guess.
Yeah. Too much of Vedanta.
They were very interesting, as you say.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let me get to some comments. Aparo Garu saying, what is the difference between faith and trust? I think we would take it in the same breath here. Just another English word, but I think they both are the same. Faith, Amitama is saying, faith in the intangible is far more challenging. When we have track record of a person's performance as an example is easier. We have evidence of performance. Yeah, the evidence of performance of that man crossing from Tower A to Tower B. What more evidence you want? He's not showing his certificates to you and say, give me your child. And now I'm asking your child from Tower B to Tower A. So there is enough evidence. Past experiences could be evidences. Your own experiences there's no reason to doubt. As you initially said, there's no reason to doubt, because if it worked all this while, it should work. That kind of unparalleled faith. Okay. Arunama is asking, can we say faith is acceptance of the ups and downs and still holding on to your goal? I think in essence, I'm sure you've got the clarification, Arunama, from what others have commented. I think that's what it is. Yes. Does it clarify, Ma? Okay. Yeah, Vijayji.
Guruji, in terms of this acceptance by the mind and the intellect, I was thinking the subject or the Vedanta by itself is nothing to do with gross intellect. It's more to do with subtle intellect. If you want to judge some input black and white, it becomes very easy when it concerns only gross intellect. The moment it goes into the realm of subtle intellect, judging it or accepting it or not accepting it, or needs thinking or contemplation to accept it, then it becomes much different. And so what we have an evidence that it is not right or wrong through matters concerning gross is easy to come to a conclusion.
For a person who has eyes to see it, he sees it with same certainty as a gross intellect sees. As a gross intellect would go by proofs and evidences, a subtle intellect also has the same proofs and evidences in an intangible way. Otherwise it becomes a phonetic following, is it? It's just a fanatic adherence to something you believe in. It's not, it becomes a blind fanaticism. It's not being fanatic to a path or a practice.
And perhaps Guruji, the very reason that it has to be, it needs a lot of contemplation.
How do you say that, sir? Sorry.
In the sense, to judge something in the realm of 0 and 1, black and white, or scientific or tangible, it's easier. But to understand something which is not in that thing, it requires a lot of thought, deep thoughts, and then mulling over it again and again.
Indeed.
So invariably, anything concerning with the subtle intellect, possibly I assume that requires more effort and more faith. Faith is, maybe I'm using the wrong word again. You need to believe, and you want to love to do it, and you want to think that it is important, and prima facie believe it's true, and then try to mull over it.
So even to establish your faith, you have to give, it starts even with benefit of doubt, isn't it? Even before you establish your faith, you got to have the benefit of doubt. If you start suspecting, you can never anywhere reach near even establishing the first element of faith in a relationship, in a partner, in any situation. So there has to be the benefit of doubt. If I have to have faith in this journey, we have to first give the benefit of doubt to these gurus who are roaring the truth. There has to be 100% truth in what these great men are saying. Then I have to embark on a journey to the extent I'm able to attune my intellect, then able to feel and get the pulse as to what these great men are saying. And in our own way, we feel and experience it, and then start saying, oh my God, yes, these great men are true, but I didn't have the eyes to see it. I've been only looking at it from a mundane perspective. And so it begins with that benefit of doubt on these great gurus and these texts, that what they're saying is right.
Does it where the bhakti or reverential love come to facilitate this?
No,
unconditional belief?
No, then it becomes, it's not unconditional. You give the benefit of doubt and then back it up with your intellectual exercise. So, when the intellect is absent, it becomes blind faith. Remember that. When the intellectual element is absent, when there is no self-inquiry, when there is no effort by yourself, then it becomes blind faith. And today, the absence of intellect is evident in the flourishing spiritual practices. Whatever the guru says is accepted without a rhyme or reason. Suddenly the guru says, from tomorrow onwards, we'll start doing this. All his chelas will start doing it. Nobody will stand up and question, Guruji, why do you think we should do this? What is your rationale behind it? Not that questioning a guru is challenging. You're never questioning to challenge, but on what basis is being said? Is it supported by the Shastras? Is what is being recommended, is it supported by the Shastras? There is no inquiry, there is no effort, there is no examination. It is a complete blind faith in whatever the guru does. And whatever the guru says becomes a norm. This is rampant blind faith. So in fact, the job of the guru is to allow the student to question, not accept on anything on its own pure merit or the celebrity value in the equation. The celebrity status always overwhelms the individual intellect, sir. That's the sad part of it. The intellect is not being exercised because the celebrity element takes over. We are not here sitting in judgment of the gurus or what is said, but it is to make sure that your faith is right. You have to engage your intellect. But when your intellect is absent, it becomes blind faith. Okay, sir. Thank you. But you're right, very right. In the realms of subtle intellect, in this realm, it is taking it to to real extremities. It's really tested, you know. And I have seen Raghu Garu raising hand a couple of times. Yes, Raghu Garu.
Yeah, Aryam, Guruji.
Yes, sir.
So I have one question. So I was thinking there is no place for faith in Vedanta. That's one of the reason I wanted to join these classes and
I'm
see
sorry?
more of.
Can you come again?
So I was thinking, yeah, I was thinking there was no place for faith or belief in Vedanta or any of this track where learning about things. So I was just trying to understand where is this faith and belief is coming into picture, Guruji.
Sir, have you met me?
I'm seeing on Zoom.
No,
but,
just yes or no. Have you met me in person?
No.
Do you know me?
Partially, I know that.
Very little, hardly you know me. What partial? Only once
Yes.
you spoke to me in person.
Yep.
And yet, what is it that brings you to the class? Was there ever a doubt?
Class,
was there ever a doubt in everything that you had experienced, whether you heard somewhere online in YouTube, you heard somehow you got hold of some lecture online and you came to know, you inquired, you followed that initial lead, something that touched you, you followed it, and you're here not once, you're coming back again and again. Isn't there a certain amount of faith you have given on to someone whom you have not met, you do not know what he is, but yet you have shown some faith to come back to this classroom, sir? And how can you say faith and belief doesn't play a role in Vedanta? It's a fundamental premise on any journey begins with faith. So there's a basic faith you have bestowed on to the Guru and says, I think here's a man who knows what he's talking. He makes sense. So you have faith in my ability. Whatever way you have come to an understanding and conclusion, you have shown some faith. So as any journey begins, even spiritual journey also begins with faith, but not blind faith. There's a world of difference between faith and blind faith. Whatever way you have gone about in trying to convince yourself that I would like to learn or join this learning, whatever be the process, but it is not blindly you have walked into this classroom, certainly not. You've done your study, you've done your analysis, you've examined, you've observed, you've compared, you understood, it made rational sense to you, and then you are here. So that's the difference between faith and blind faith. So, example, when you have a physical ailment, you need treatment, would you walk into any hospital, any clinic, anybody who has a signage of a doctorate, would you go and surrender to him and say, get yourself operated, the first opinion? Or would you go about going for, you would do your own study, what is happening to me? You would go ask your family friends who are doctors, who have knowledge of medicine, you go to a doctor, get your consultation, get your reports, get for a second opinion, third opinion, then deliberate with people, and then see, should I do it or not? And end of the day, you decide to do it or not to do it. And still, end of the day, you still have to faith in the doctor who suggests, end of the day, says you have to go through the surgery, but you have not blindly offered yourself to be operated on. You have done your due diligence, understanding that it is area of your ignorance. Medicine is not your forte. You are not medically knowledgeable, but yet you have exercised your intellect in areas of your ignorance. That is what differentiates between faith and blind faith. You are not challenging the doctors or the medical suggestions you have got. You are processing it with your limited intellect, with your limited understanding. You're questioning and trying to make sense. That is the difference between faith and blind faith. When you don't do any of that, it is blind faith. It can be in areas of ignorance. It has to be in areas of ignorance. It's because it's not that you know everything in life. But when anything is presented, don't accept it on its face value. When you accept it on its face value without exercising of your intellect, it becomes blind faith. And that is, there is no room for blind faith in Vedanta. There is every room for faith in Vedanta. Your whole journey, the premise of your journey is faith.
My understanding.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking like other textbooks and other religions. I'm not really that great in other things, but just my initial thoughts was there was a lot of belief thing in other things, and I was thinking Vedanta is straight like a prescription from a doctor. You do this, and you go to the next level or whatever. So there is no. I was thinking like that because this is my initial first few classes. That's what I was thinking. Like, if I do couple things, right things, and follow the textbook and do what exactly it is there, at least I will see the difference. If not attain the higher levels.
You're not wrong at all in your understanding. But you could not pick up the text. You will not be able to pick up the text and continue your inquiry until you have basic faith that these masters are speaking the truth, isn't it? And they're speaking.
But I can still try it, like, say, is that not possible?
Please,
like,
no,
I
please
try
go ahead.
couple, like 100% I'll put the effort. Yeah, if I still, if I have a textbook like Vedanta, these are the 1 to 10 steps you have to take and do every day or whatever.
Yes.
I can still do it.
Yeah,
without faith, I can reach the higher levels.
You can. In fact, they say, how do you study Vedanta? How do you approach Vedanta? You approach Vedanta as you approach science. And you don't study science on faith. You study science on facts. You study science on experiments. You study science on, you accept what science says, not because Einstein or Newton said so, because that's a law of life, isn't it? So also is Vedanta presenting the various laws of life. But there are areas where your intellect cannot fathom. That's where you got to surrender. That's where you got to go have basic faith. We are not talking of blindly surrendering, but we have to have a relationship. There is a relationship between a guru and a shishya, isn't it, sir? And when there is a relationship, there has to be that basic faith, that basic understanding that the guru is doing what he is doing for my benefit, and whatever I am learning is in the interest of my own development. There has to be that basic understanding that the shishya also is genuinely trying to learn. I also never met you. I also don't know you. I have not gone through, you're not gone through any tests to prove yourself to whether you're an adhikari of this knowledge. But yet I have basic faith that Raghu is genuinely wanting to learn. Have I done anything to test your personality, to enroll you into this knowledge? No.
No.
So isn't there an underlying faith that existed in this relationship? It only builds what we are saying, that we have assumed is established with intellectual backing. So make sure your intellect always plays a role, even in areas of your ignorance. Intellect must question and inquire. Where the intellect switches off, then it becomes blind faith.
Yeah, I understand.
In fact, many a time in the house is blind faith that your wife will not poison you. But when you go to a supermarket, you buy a product, first thing you see, when is the expiry date? You go into the supermarket, you buy a loaf of bread. You first see, when is the bread expiring? You don't blindly pick up, but when you eat the next meal prepared in the home, a blind faith that your wife or the cook in the house is not going to contaminate you. They will not use anything that is stale and cooked. It's blind faith. Don't go about questioning the family. You might not get a next meal for yourself. Huh? Then don't blame me. I learned in Vedanta class, don't have blind faith, yeah, and then don't get into trouble. Okay, sir.
Yeah, I understand.
Right, sir. I don't know what you understood. Last part, be very careful. Huh? Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you. Yes, Harishji, I know you have been silently sending lovely comments to me in private. You want to share your view, sir?
Hariom Guruji.
Hariom, sir.
I think you said it all, Guruji. So I don't know whether it bears repetition, but I was only saying that for me, faith is, or total faith is, despite application of intellect and all the reasoning powers, one sees no alternative path in any situation. That single-minded, focused approach is what is called total faith. At another level, can you sacrifice or detach from, and if it is required, that which is dearest to oneself? In fact, detach from everything else in the single-minded pursuit of this path. That would be total faith. So when you have to measure, you will have to measure it, as you always said, you don't measure it in the luxury of quiet and solitude, you measure it in the marketplace, in the din of the marketplace. So similarly, it's only when the chips are down, and at that time, can you sacrifice all else? Can you see only this as the path? And is there no doubt? I suppose everybody said the same thing, but I think that is the test, that you do not, and that is after applying. So it is not out of blind faith, it is after application of intellect. That is what is total faith.
Very well said, sir. Thank you. And as Shivaji says, it's not a passive acceptance. No. There's profound intellect right through. Right. I know Hariji wanting to say something right throughout. Yes, Hariji. Yes, sir.
Guruji, when I don't have any idea about the Shastras and about my Guruji, don't you think that everything starts with blind faith? Either my blind faith in Guruji or in Shastra. If I'm going to accept whatever my Guruji is telling only with the support of Shastra, I don't know anything about Shastra. I am beginning my life from zero. So I feel I must, if I am going to a Guruji, at least to begin with, I must have a blind faith. So that
if I can comment, I think in answering a comment to Vijayji earlier, I've said you give the benefit of doubt rather than saying blind faith. You always give the benefit of doubt that the other person is right.
Yeah, that is blind faith.
No, that is not blind. Benefit of doubt is not blind faith. The opposite of benefit of doubt is suspicion. You can't start any relationship or journey with a suspicion or doubt or the malice.
But when I have a blind faith on my Guruji, I don't have a suspicion. If I have a suspicion, then I won't have the blind faith.
So in blind faith, there is absence of intellect.
Yeah, sure.
But
It
when you
starts-
have the benefit of doubt, I'm being very rational here and say there is no reason for me to think negatively. There's every reason why other person can be wrong, which will be understood by my end, and I will rationalize it as I experience it. So it is always from an intellectual standpoint. You say, when I give the benefit of doubt to you, it has to convince me that yes, I feel right about it, and I also understand intellectually. So there has, so unless we are both saying the same thing, but I wouldn't want to bring in the concept of blind faith, because blind faith is in fact blind leading the blind.
No, I meant only.
It doesn't take
Sorry.
you anywhere. It doesn't take you in the right direction. So just to ensure that we don't use that element of blind faith in the discussion, I'm saying benefit of doubt.
No, I meant only to start with, just like you were bringing the example of if I am unwell, I will not go.
Since you're asking me, Hariji, since you're asking me, I would not use the word blind faith, but you have the liberty to continue to hold on to that.
No, you brought the example of if I am unwell and I will not go to any doctor, I will make an inquiry and to my neighbor or whosoever has experience. So at the end of the day, even when I am going to the doctor, I have full faith in him, though I don't have any personal experience.
So even before you go to the doctor, have you not done your initial investigation? You just don't blindly walk into any clinic.
No.
That is blind. Even before you get your first, even you get your test done. No, I don't want to get tests done in that clinic. I want to get tests done in this particular diagnostic because they have a reputation that they've always been right. They are established. Even the initial thing, walking to a guru, you don't just walk into, it's not that you're in the woods and suddenly you see some guru sitting under a tree and you go and fall at his feet. That's not the scenario here, which was in the Vedic times. So at every stage, at every stage, you are supposed to use the intellect. Please use it. Even from the first step, use the intellect. But you use the intellect with the benefit of doubt. Where there is no rhyme or reason, you follow something, that is blind faith. But you don't approach a guru without a rhyme or a reason. There is a reason. There is a certain calling, and there's a certain justification why you do what you do. So it's an inwardly you have answered yourself. It's not, I'm not blindly
perhaps
following.
I was lucky that I went to my first guru without any knowledge about him. I went with my friend and I was lucky.
There again, somebody
I was
guided
extremely
you.
lucky.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
Somebody guided you, and then.
No, I just went with him. He didn't guide. So he's going. I said, I'm also coming. It can be an accidental coincidence, or I was very, very lucky that.
But your acceptance is not blind faith. Your acceptance is not blind faith.
Okay.
Your experience is accidental. Even my experience was accidental, but acceptance was not blind faith. I'm talking of acceptance here, sir. Okay, right.
Thank you.
Vijayji, and then Harishji want to comment.
Guruji, I thought I'll quickly try to, interpret what Harishi was talking about. If I had gone, like I think you have mostly explained already, if I hadn't had any input about a person and say that, a guru or whoever teacher, and then I say that whatever he says will make sense, that's blind. If I had heard him a couple of times, if I heard from someone whose judgment I trust that, this guy makes sense, then it's no longer blind faith, it's faith. There, I think a little bit of a use of intellect enters.
It could be even corroboratory.
Yes, because like if anybody has said that, any guy who goes on the road says that this man is very good, I won't take it. It's important to me that the person who tells me that is also I trust. Okay, they can extend it ad infinitum, but
yeah, correct. Very true. Very true. Thanks, Ji. Perfect. That makes absolute sense. Harishji?
Guruji, I felt Hariji answered himself because he used the words at the first stage. The very fact that it was the first stage means it is not blind faith. It is not all stages. It is the first stage. Secondly, obviously, he has had to have had some reasoning, some logic of a situation that he was in, which drove him to experiment this. And therefore, it leads to, it's what in science starts with hypothesis and becomes theory. So there is no blind faith in this. At no stage is there blind faith.
Hariji is doing a lot of yoga. Is doing Vanda. Hariji, you can do yoga after the class. Right. Hariji, we all, various comments have been made. Come to your own rational conclusion. Don't have blind faith on anything that is said, but please have faith. Okay. Hariji, point noted, Hariji. Lastly, I think we will take Apara Ogaro's comments. Yes, sir.
Guruji, I just wanted to add a few words to what you have said, and I believe that there is nothing called blind faith. The reason is that the study of Vedanta is a fact-based approach. It is not something that is non-existing or something like that. I'm trying to prove something that is unknown or non-existing. The problem is with our understanding. The problem, when you are explaining the Vedanta classes in last few classes, you talked about a threefold approach, that is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasa. The problem is that we are unable to hear the right things. We are unable to do contemplate in a right way, and we are unable to sustain our contemplation on a particular, the core areas. That's the reason we have a problem with understanding. That's the reason probably we might be thinking it's a blind faith. And I don't believe it's a blind faith at all.
Thank you, sir. It has come loud and clear that there is no room for blind faith in Vedanta. Thank you. Terrorism is blind faith. Inna Shivaji, if you are unwell in a strange place, question mark, then what? Sharanagati, you surrender.
You have to go with the faith that that hospital running for so many years will be able to treat me. You go on questioning everything, you will never be able to. And go by your past experience, you can never be in this moment now. Your past experience may also be now, as we said, if you start doubting your life, where will you end up? There's no way.
Outside the house.
And even
if you doubt the food in the house, you'll be outside the house. Get out, she'll tell. That's
even
where,
our past experience.
I guarantee Rajima will do that. Nala Raji will do that. She'll say, get out. Right? Yarada sonna unakku veetla saapad nalla illana velila po. Avalda veetuke po nee.
So you can't totally rely on even your past experiences also. The moment you are able to give up your past experience, then you are able to give up your vasanas. You can't totally rely on that. You need to go by both. It works that way. It's like the core of the atom is the core of this thing is in the center, and even the peripheral. Both only come together, it exists. You cannot say one this or that. It works both ways. Yeah. You can't say, no, I don't believe him. Now, how will you ever go? I never knew Vinayji. I attended one session, I conclude. Simple. There's nothing more. Nobody came and told me. Only once, Setharaman said, you come. That's it.
You have to have some faith in the goodness of the world. The world has to offer. If you can't find good people in the world, you be the one. Simple. You have to have that basic faith and go and attempt. No, I don't know. I don't think that I'm stuck. I'm there on my own now. Now my intellect starts working when I listen to his sessions. I did come with a acceptance. Yes, he should be. He is a guru. Let me go. Simple. There's nothing more. No questioning. Will it give me the ultimate thing? No. Ultimate what it is up to us.
Hey, what is it? No, I'm giving ultimate to you.
You are giving. You are giving.
Don't say no.
And sir, now there are many
UK,
people.
look at him. He's saying openly, I'm not giving. I don't agree to it. I have no faith in whatever Shivaji says. Please mute Shivaji. I have no faith at all. No. Point noted, Shivaji. Point very well noted. Very well noted. I think it is a blend of your past experiences. It is the purity of your thought, purity of your emotion, and the exercise of intellect at every step. You know, you go back to the doctor. Doctor says, I think the medicines have to be changed. You ask why the medicine have to be changed. You question, you try, you never do anything at any step without the intellect. The intellect has always to be there all throughout. Your purity of faith and benefit has to be there throughout. And your past experiences guide you further. And you build on it. And ultimately, the extension of faith is Shraddha. We have not talked of Shraddha at all this whole class. We're only talking of faith. And the text, the mantra starts with threefold path: the yoga of Shraddha, the yoga of Bhakti, and the yoga of Dhyana. Shraddha is way beyond faith. And we'll come to Shraddha in the next class. Please, I know you all have the Shraddha to come back. Please come back. Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.